What's up, everyone? How are you guys doing? I'm Rob Gage with Split It. I am the only thing standing between you and happy hour, so we will try to make this fun. Good to see everyone. We'll keep it a little casual. If we have questions throughout, please interrupt. Ask me whatever you need to. But we're here right now today to talk about some strategies for helping you guys move your customers from browsing to buying, and in particular, thinking about how the effects of the pandemic have changed buying behavior and brought some of the we call them phygital experiences, if you've heard that term, from the e-commerce world into the physical world. But before I begin, just a quick show of hands. I'm curious, how many of you guys out there are retailers? Let's see, just a show of hands. Okay, so a good bit. In the middle here, that's good. How many of you guys are buyers or distributors? Let's see a show of hands. We got a couple over there. How about others that are manufacturers, that you have the product company? Some over here. Okay, great. Others, I saw government badges. That made me feel like I was getting arrested. I hope you guys aren't in here. No? Okay. Well, if you're here, you're welcome as well. So we'll try to hit on topics for each of you, each of those groups, because I think what we're talking about here is how are we, as retailers, going to create an environment that makes customers really, hello? Oh, we were waving. I thought I was going to wave too. Sorry. How are we as retailers helping to inspire and drive that point of purchase, that moment of purchase, right? And then as buyers and distributors, how are we helping set up those retailers for success by selecting products that are going to help stand out on their own? And of course, as product developers, how are we building products that stand out amidst this sea of what we call the endless aisle, which we've all experienced and I'll get into, but it's this idea that there are just limitless choices now, that it's nearly impossible for consumers to figure out what the right product is because they literally every single day are getting served more and more and more options. So that's what we're going to talk about today. But first, I'd be remiss if I didn't tell you who the heck Split It was. I'm sure many of you don't know. We are an interesting startup in the buy now, pay later space. And what I mean when I say interesting is that we particularly focus on large purchases, right? On cart sizes above $800 or $1,000. And what we do is instead of giving a line of credit, we use the power of consumers' credit cards, right? That they already have on them, their favorite credit card they're earning points on. We allow them to pay over time, as many as 36 installments over 3 years, right? With no fees, no interest. That's what we do. Sounds magical. You can come talk to Irma, who's in the front row. She'll tell you all about how it works. But the net is, when people see Split It, when they use Split It, they buy more, they buy bigger, okay, and they buy faster. And that's really the theme of what we're going to talk about. So let's jump into it. I'm going to toss a lot of stats at you. There won't be a quiz, so write it down or not. But the first stat, and this is to dispel this notion that because of the pandemic, somehow in-store sales are gonna die, right? That, the death of the retail location. That is, in my opinion, and in many people's opinion, patently false. 78% of retail sales in 2024 are gonna still come from retail locations, okay? But the difference is people are gonna have tremendously different expectations of those retail spaces. It's not going to be the way it once was, where you could essentially just browse what's on the shelf, pick what's off the shelf, and walk away happy. They're coming with 3 new expectations that I'm going to talk to you about today. The first is they're going to show up to you already having been influenced. They already will have had a pre-existing notion of what they should be shopping for before they even got there. That's always been the case, but this last 18 months or so has exacerbated that problem. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about how you can take advantage of that and turn that into your favor. The second is they're going to come informed. They're going to know more about your products. They're going to know more about the price points. They're going to know more about your competitors. They're going to know about more places they can buy it. They're going to have expectations for how quickly that product should get from your warehouse to their front door. They're going to know all that before they even show up, right? You need to make sure that you go in armed with all of that same knowledge and ready to dispel any misinformation that they may have. Because when we say informed, they're also probably misinformed. And so you need to have that. And the last thing, and this one has always been the case, but it's, again, exacerbated by what we've seen over the last 18 months, they are going to be more impatient than ever before, okay? More impatient than ever before. How many of you guys during this pandemic have had issues with your supply chain? Have had issues where you're like, guys, I want to get you this product. I was talking to a bike retailer. I was at Big Gear Show last week in Park City. It was a great show. And while we were there, I was talking to some bike retailers, and they're saying, you know what? I have half of my stock sold before it even hits the floor. And then by the time it hits the floor, it's gone in a day. So what do I do? How do I compete against an e-commerce world, an Amazonification of the world, where everybody assumes something can make it from here to there in 2 days or less, right? That's the challenge you have to have. So impatient. But they're also impatient about some other things. I'm going to walk you through some of the common missteps that our merchant partners, our retailer partners have learned from so that hopefully you guys can create some efficiencies as well. So I touched on it. The main theme here is this concept of the endless aisle. You see a definition of that right there on the screen. But the concept is essentially we live in a world of endless, boundless choice, where the aisle literally never ends. And this is something that's been ingrained in us as humans over the last 10, 15 years, right? I love this stat. On average, it takes 19 minutes for someone to choose something to watch in the streaming services. I see a lot of head nods. My wife and I very rarely fight. If we do, it's about what the heck we're going to watch on TV. In fact, I heard a comedian say that the #1 show on Netflix is scrolling through trying to figure out what to watch on Netflix, which is absolutely the case. We literally, who knew that we were going to fall in love with Tiger Kings, or that we were going to, look at Indian Matchmakers, one of my favorite shows. If you haven't seen it on Netflix, you've got to watch it, right? I would have never stumbled across that in the world of just a few channels. But on Netflix, it seemingly goes on forever. Tinder swipes, dating app swipes, 100 to 200 on average. I may have hit the over on that with my wife, where I think I swiped probably 1,000 times before I found her, right? We're just used to keep swiping. It's a habit of swiping. It's almost a joke at this point, right? Half the fun is just in the searching for more people, or more things, or more items, right? How often do we scroll through Instagram looking at, I'm remodeling my house right now. I look through things on Instagram constantly saying, maybe this should be my kitchen. Maybe this should be my kitchen. Maybe this should be my kitchen. And it just literally never ends. That's all ingrained to us by the technology we have in our pockets. And the last example I'll give of this, I don't know if you know this, but there are over 2,000 toothbrushes on Amazon. I have not scrolled to the end to verify how different these 2,000 toothbrushes are, but you literally have 2,000 options by which to scroll from Instagram. And so the question I want you guys to ask yourselves is, why on earth, in a sea of endless choice, would anyone choose you? That's the question. Why would they choose you? It takes them 79 days, on average, for a consumer to make a big decision. 79 days. That's an extremely long time, right? In some industries, they've already had that 79 days before they've gotten to you, right? I imagine in many of the sporting good categories that you're in, they've already done all the research on all the kayaks they were going to do. They've pretty much made their decision before they've gotten to you. 79 days that they're constantly thinking about this, questioning, researching, being influenced, being moved, right? That's your area of opportunity. And what it leads to is this concept of decision fatigue, this idea that at the end, people sort of give up. This is what you see when you see people come into your stores and they basically opt out. They say, you know what? There's too much to figure out. I can't make a decision today. I'm going to go back home. I'm going to start down a Google hole, and then I'm going to end up on some weird Reddit thread that I never knew existed, and then I'm going to give up again, right? That's exactly what happens. I'm sure it happens to all of you guys. It happens to me, right? So that's the concept. That's what we're trying to figure out. And this is all about, at the end of the day, how are you helping to drive choice with consumers, right? How are you getting them to pick you, to decide on you? So let's get into it then. 3 lessons, like I said. The first lesson, influenced. They're coming to you influenced, okay? How many of you are familiar with Taobao? A few of you. If you are not, you must go home, fall down a Google hole, a YouTube hole, and watch this. And I'm going to show you something in a second. It is driving China's online economy. What this is it's a revamp, and I would say it's the influencer market on steroids. It's influencers essentially hawking products through live streams with the ability to interact with their consumers in real time and with the ability to essentially move past the retailer. There's no need for a retailer. The influencer can be the retailer. Here's an example of what that looks like.
94号可以搭88号来穿，宝宝。然后那个衣服的话，我们现在穿的是这个94号宝贝，颜色的话是卡其色的这种啊，卡其色的颜色。然后那个衣服上身效果还蛮棒的，颜色也很好看。这个去找一下我们的客服领取。
So for those of you who are rusty on your Mandarin, what she's saying here and what's happening here is she is hawking all those the clothes you see in the background here. She's actually selling that cardigan that she's wearing. And you see the comments on the left there are all people interacting and influencing one another and talking about this product. They're all interacting and saying, well, what about this? And what about this? And what about this? And how much does this cost? And they're buying directly through the platform. Now, I don't bring this up because tomorrow you're going to all of a sudden see a bunch of Chinese influencers start selling your products. I bring this up because what we're saying is that the entire dynamic of how consumers' minds are made up in the purchase process has been completely subverted. All right? All of you, I'm sure, have some measure of an influencer strategy, right? Whether it's an Instagram influencer strategy or a TikTok strategy or just a simple social media strategy or a local community strategy. My point is they are now moving to the primary position of being your salesperson. They are not just being your advertising shill. They're not just somebody who represents your product. They're literally the person who changes minds for why I should pick this canoe or this kayak over that kayak. And it's not just happening in China. This next example here is from Tommy Hilfiger. And this is funny because any of you who are old like me will say, well, this just looks like the shopping network. And I remember the shopping network. And we were addicted to the shopping network. And we bought figurines. And we bought random Cutco knives. And we brought, I don't know, ovens and stuff, rotisseries.
You guys, it's this white beautiful dress.
Very
a
nice.
Floral dress.
The floral dress.
And a sporty look. And you guys can even decide what I'm gonna wear next.
Yeah, because you guys can vote. Again, very easy. You have to only hashtag either if you vote for the floral dress, hashtag floral, striped dress, hashtag striped, and striped, excuse me, and otherwise the white, hashtag white dress. And then, yeah.
And then
so
I'm gonna
we will wear
change
it.
and present the dress for you.
Exactly.
So let's start with the white one. I think it's super feminine, super cute. It has a very nice length.
Yeah, it's over the knees, right?
Yeah, it is. And it's super nice with the details. They have like...
Okay. I won't make you sit through the whole thing. It's painful. But what I will say, and what's interesting about this is notice it's a two-way street, right? This isn't, look how awesome I am doing sexy things in my crazy white dress of some kind, right? This is, I'm going to interact with my audience, ask their opinions, and help them guide and shape the experience. It's an interactive experience. It's entertainment, it's information, and it's salesmanship all in the same package, right? All put through on YouTube. And this is already happening, as you can see, in the English language commerce world. And so we need to start thinking about how are you upping your game? How are you preparing yourself? How are you getting ready for a world where influencers are going to be moving around your retail location, moving around, subverting your product pipeline? If you are buyers or distributors, I would be terrified about this, right? Because what this does is it essentially says, I can go direct to the consumer and I don't need you. I don't need this ecosystem. I don't even need professionals, right? I just need personalities. And I think that's a dangerous and interesting place to be, but it's something that you guys are gonna have to cope with, okay? What this boils down to and what they're playing on, and these are the actions that you guys could take. And I want to land each of these. You'll notice I try to land each of these chapters here. And so what the heck do I do about it? My goal up here is not to just scare the bejesus out of you. My goal is to give you 2 or 3 or 4 things that you guys can do when you get back home. The first is I want you to think about playing with this concept of time, right? We as humans have essentially 3 big buttons around scarcity. There's time, right? Think about when you buy concert tickets and you have that little ticker. And I've never been scared of filling out an online credit card form until I'm in front of a ticket counter. And I'm like, oh my God, can I do this form in 15 minutes? I really hope so, right? It's complete perception. It's not real, right? But it's real because I believe it is real. Okay, that's what they do. That's what those infomercials, those late night, shopping network things used to do, right? They would sit up there and they're like, we only have 15 minutes left to get this super special where you get 6 figurines for the price of 5. And I'm like, oh my God, I need figurines, right? That's what this is. Okay, so that's the first. Play with time. How can you, on your website or in your retail location, or even when you're thinking about the products themselves, make them feel like they're limited time only? Create that sense of scarcity. The second is quantity. And the example I have here is from one of my favorite furniture brands called The Citizenry. Now, what I love about The Citizenry, among many things, one of the things is that they are a completely ethical, soup to nuts corporation. What I mean by that is everything's fair trade, everything, the workers are fairly compensated, and all the products are handmade, okay? All of the materials are locally sourced whenever possible, okay? All of that chain is amazingly ethical. But what's amazing, the result of that, is that their quantities are extremely limited, okay? And they make no, they have no illusions or they have no concerns about showing that on the website. On the website, you see 4 left. There are 4 of those chairs in the world. I have to have this chair because there's only 4 left. Right? I think sometimes we've been trained in the world of retail, of inventory, of saying, no, I have to always have something available. Oh my God, the worst possible thing is to go try to buy Campbell's soup at the grocery store and not have it there, right? Or God, toilet paper during the pandemic, right? You show up and you're like, oh my God, where's the toilet paper? I need toilet paper, right? But in this way, you create the concept of scarcity, right? You create the concept that, look, I only have one of these bikes. So you better buy it now, okay? And the last one is difference. Who knows who that person is up there? Somebody up here. Well, I know you know. Who is that? Oh, Bad Bunny, that's right. Your friend and mine, Bad Bunny, who did an amazing promotion with Crocs. Do you know how fast the Crocs promotion sold out? It was 6 minutes, okay? In 6 minutes, Crocs. Who wants Crocs? I don't know. I mean, we kind of like use them, but I mean, no one's out there running to get Crocs. But when Bad Bunny did Crocs and had special pins on the Crocs that everyone knew were Bad Bunny's version, sells out in 6 minutes, right? Now, not all of us are good friends with Bad Bunny like I am, of course, but what you could do is you could find different ways in your own local communities or part of your own network to say, how can I add difference? Maybe I add difference by partnering with a unique group. So this is kind of a one-of-a-kind partnership. Maybe I add difference by simply talking about my product in a unique and different way or sourcing it in a unique or different way, right? But I think sometimes we're in such I'll say a features arm race, right? Where everybody says, well, I added this feature, so therefore, or my competitor added this 5 features, so I add these 5 features, then they add another 5, and I add another 5, and it becomes this arms race that we lose that core, that thing that cannot ever be repeated. And a lot of the merchants that I work with, what we spend more of our time on than anything else, and I'm talking to the product people in particular out there, is we say, what can we invent, what can we do that feels like I'm the only one on earth who could ever do it, okay? That's why Split It. We're the only ones who can use your credit card. That's it, right? I would encourage you to think about that with your products as well. Okay, chapter 1. You guys good? Questions? Nods? Board in the back? Okay, great. Question. Yeah, please.
I have a quick question. For the Tommy Hilfiger video,
Yes.
is that their own platform or is it a third-party platform?
Yeah, they put it through YouTube.
That's YouTube?
Yeah, they were putting it through YouTube and doing a live stream on YouTube.
I was paying attention, I promise.
Oh, no, gosh, of course you were. Yeah, no, I didn't make it explicit, but you're exactly right. So you don't have to invest in a third-party platform. A number of these partners do. They do their own channels, but you can do it through an Instagram Live. You can do it through a YouTube Live, Facebook Live if you have an older demographic. Good question. Any other questions on that? Cool, good. All right, second one, informed. Refresh your memory where we are with this. So we have been living in a world where all the e-commerce, most of the commerce was happening through e-commerce just because of where we were, right? No one was furniture shopping anymore. They were online furniture shopping. Maybe they'd go pick it up in store. What that meant was, it's a lot different, and you guys know this, going to one store, looking around the store, and then walking over to another store, driving over to another store, right? There's a reason why they called it shop till you drop. And the reason was very literal. I know for the young people out there, you guys don't remember this, but we used to literally have to walk from place to place, right? When you had to walk from place to place, you get tired. It's exhausting. But now it's a click away, right? And even better, the reviews are half a click away, right? They're often linked right there, okay? So now I'm coming to you. I know all of your reviews. I know all of your dirty secrets. I know all the things that make you great and all the things that make you stink, all with a click. And it's not covered up by a amazing salesperson who can brush over the rough edges, right? It's all out there in the open, and they know that. So you have to figure out, what are you going to do about it? This is one example of what you could do about it. And I'm just going to let this video play, and then we'll talk about it.
This is the Everyday Sling by Peak Design, and this is the Everyday Sling by Amazon Basics. It looks suspiciously like the Peak Design Everyday Sling, but you don't have to pay for all those needless bells and whistles, like years of research and development, recycled Bluesign approved materials, a lifetime warranty, fairly paid factory workers, and total carbon neutrality. Instead, you just get a bag designed by the crack team at the Amazon Basics department.
Yeah, keep combing that data.
Okay, I'll get right on it, boss.
We'll stop right there. That Everyday Sling, that's a hot seller. Let's basic this bad boy.
Right on.
Aluminum hardware? Let's do plastic. Durable zippers? Sounds pricey.
Flex fold dividers?
Let's do the floppy ones.
Done. What do we call it?
I'm thinking the Everyday Sling.
That's good, boss.
So if you're tired of supporting companies who innovate, and just not willing to pay for responsibly made products, don't. The Everyday Sling by Peak Design and by Amazon Basics. Whichever one you buy, you'll get exactly what you paid for.
I love Amazon. I hope no one here is from Amazon. I hope they're not insulted. But let's be honest. How many of you guys have felt something similar? I give you applause here. Like, haven't you guys felt something like this, where you come up with something amazing, you put all your blood, sweat, and tears into something, and then some Yahoo somewhere else just basically rips it off, right? What we're talking about here, and this goes back, I'm going to connect this to why this is about informed. Consumers only know what they're told, right? They only know what they're told. Now, they often know what they told through that influencer that I told you about, but they only know what they're told. And just because your website somewhere says how amazing you are, doesn't mean the word's ever going to get out. Doesn't mean that they're ever going to notice it. Doesn't mean it's ever going to sink in. Doesn't mean they're ever going to be able to repeat it to anyone else, okay? You need to think a little bit more creatively and maybe be a little bit bolder about how you take on those copycats and how you point out your difference. I love what this brand here did in terms of really just saying, look, the decision is yours, consumer. Do you want to be aligned with a, they didn't say it this way, but essentially with a corporation of evil? Or do you want to be aligned with the good guys? Do you want to be part of the rebellion or part of the empire? Like, it's not that hard, right? But they did a great job of bringing it to life. I would challenge you to think about, how are you doing the same thing? Here's a different way you can do that. And this probably should scare you a little bit. I'm going to let this one play and then we'll talk about it. How many of you guys have used Nike Fit? Have any of you used Nike Fit? I'm going to give you some homework. Go home today, or when you get home, try Nike Fit. The reason it's so game-changing, and this is just the first step, I could have given you 10 brands that are doing something similar. The other part of being informed is I know exactly what is right for me before I even show up at the store. That's what they're doing. What they're saying is we are going to use the power of technology to at least give you the perception or the feeling that what you just got was personalized to you. She did this fancy scan. She stood on the wall. There was AI, crazy stuff. And then she got a 9.5. Like, it's just a 9.5. How did you not know you were a 9.5? But the laser told me I was a 9.5, so I'm a 9.5. Like, it's insane. But it's perception. It's really cool, right? Think about how you might use that in all the products that you guys are selling, right? How can you create this perception of something that feels personal, feels like it's a one-for-one, feels like it was just for me, so that I walk in and you can't sell me on something else. No one's going to sell her on an Adidas shoe. She was just told by the lasers that Nike fits her, right? And you'd never argue with lasers. This is the key stat here, though. Since the pandemic began, we've added more than 70 million new members globally. This was on their earnings call just in Q2. 70 million people are now part of this whole Nike Fit ecosystem, okay? I don't know if any of you are out there selling, a smaller shoe brand, but if you are, good luck getting them away from Nike, right? Good luck getting them away from that technology. Now, I'm not saying go out there and invest, $20 million into some fancy laser app, right? But I am saying you need to start thinking about how consumers are going to feel much more intimately connected with the products and services that they are buying, that they are going to feel one-to-one through the power of technology. And how can you have a part in that? Now I'm going to get a little bit further down, and this stat kind of shocks me, right? When you look at cart abandonment, which we'll talk about a little bit more in the next chapter, one of the leading causes of cart abandonment is actually coupons. The idea being when you have a coupon field on your site, people start thinking, well, where's the coupon? I don't have a coupon. I need to go to Google and find the coupon. And then I go to Google and I search, kayak coupon. And next thing you know, I'm on some other kayak site. Next thing you know, I bought some other kayak. That's what happens. We've created a marketing ecosystem because of people like me who figured out how to retarget everybody for everything. And the minute they have even an inkling that I need to leave your site, they are constantly bombarded by every other competitor you have out there, large and small, who wants that business as badly as you do. And so what that means is you need to think long and hard about when, where, and how you are using those coupons. Because they will know. They know enough to know to go find it. They are informed about every deal that exists, okay? So here are some best practices to think about when you're trying to keep that abandonment low. Number one, place the field low. You don't want to put it in a place of prominence. If you put it in a place of prominence, the first thing they do is they say, oop, I don't have a coupon. I can't go on to the next field. Let me go find a coupon. If you're going to do a coupon, just make it easy. Just put it on the site. Right? Don't make them search. Don't make them think there's a better coupon. Don't give the illusion of some mysterious other coupon that might be out there. Be obvious, be upfront, put it on the site, maybe even fill it out for them before they even get there. And that's lesson 3, pre-apply those codes. Many of you are probably doing that through your CRM right now, right? Someone has an email, they click on the email, it fills out the code already, right? Do that. I like this one here, collapse the field. Here's an example for Sundays for Dogs, which you'll see the referral code there is collapsed. And only after you click that plus does it open. And notice they're saying referral code. That doesn't tell me discount. Now, I might know what it is if I actually had a referral code, but it doesn't immediately say, oh, go to Google and find a code, right? Keep it collapsed, make them open it, give them a little work to do. And then the last one is the boldest of all. But really ask, do you really need it? Do you really need it? Can you just, if you want to give 10% off, just give 10% off. Do you really need coupons to do it? Do you really need it to be that targeted? Test it. I'm not saying it works for everybody. There are plenty of great reasons to use it, but test it. Okay? Questions on that chapter? Make sense? Little scared? Okay, good. Just the appropriate amount of scared. The last one we're gonna talk about is impatient. How many of you guys do curbside pickup? Order online, curbside pickup. Yeah, fastest growing part of commerce right now, right, is the implementation of order online, pickup in store, okay? So if you guys haven't explored that or haven't figured out how to do that, highly encourage you to do that. But the idea being here is that we have consumers that are now trained, right? I mean, think about the concept of this. I can't even wait the 2 to 5 days it takes for you to mail it to me. I'm literally gonna get in my car and go pick up this thing, right? Why do we need that? I don't know, but we've been trained to do that. That's how we feel. We've gotten more and more and more impatient. And what that means is their tolerance for your mistakes are infinitesimally small. 50% of US shoppers expect fast, free delivery in a post-COVID world, right? Pretty soon, Amazon's gonna have these little creepy bots driving around, dropping off the random thing I needed, right? It's only gonna get faster. It's only gonna get faster. And I know that's hard, especially when you have logistics issues, right? But I would encourage you to think about the long run of keeping a customer loyal, right? Keeping a customer happy versus charging them extra for that shipping. Are you guys familiar? Who's familiar with the concept of ghost kitchens? A couple of you. Okay, great. So ghost kitchens are a fascinating development from the pandemic, okay? The concept of ghost kitchens here is that many of these restaurants, as they were forced to close because they couldn't have customers, they wanted to implement more delivery services. And so companies like DoorDash and Uber Eats and others started developing these concepts they call ghost kitchens, with the idea essentially being, how do we take a space, convert it into essentially an adaptable kitchen that expands the range, the delivery range, and the production capabilities of a restaurant. So now you have your favorite local Italian place, which no longer could just deliver within the 5-mile radius that a driver could do, but now they've set up ghost kitchens all throughout the city, all throughout the state, that allows them to essentially replicate those recipes and deliver faster and more efficiently to all those different places throughout their broader communities. I bring this up not because I think you guys can do something exactly the same, but to inspire you to think about how are you rethinking that last mile delivery? How are you thinking about who you might be able to partner with and leverage excess capacity in other industries to then accelerate your own ability to compete with the Amazons of the world, right? Because the one way to compete is just like we did with the everyday slang. One way is to just say, hey, look, they're the evil empire, we're good guys, right? That's great, do that, yes. The other way is to take away the only advantage they have, which is speed, right? And you could do that by thinking creatively about the network effect you might have in your communities. All of you are part of communities that I imagine you could tap into if you thought creatively about it. So how can you think about some sort of co-sharing arrangement? I've had a number of retailers talk to us about how they're changing the dynamic of their retail, of their actual store locations, and thinking of their store locations now more as concept stores, as branded theme stores, as experiences, where 25% of it is just a minimal amount of product that's designed to show off some aspect of their brand. The other 75% of their stores, essentially storage, designed to complement e-commerce, either the pickup in store or the last mile delivery. Again, may not be right for you, but hopefully it might inspire some thoughts of how you could do this a little bit differently. Next thing I'm going to talk about, for those of you who do have e-commerce sites, I cannot overstate that now is the time to reinvest in that site. You lose 7% of conversion for every 100 milliseconds of delayed website load time. That means if you're trying to look at a product and it takes half a beat before that product is there, 7% of people will go, I'm out, let me go to a different site. And they bail. That's astronomical. All for just a little bit of investment in your infrastructure. I'm sure you're looking at it thinking, well, that's the last thing I'm thinking about. I'm not talking to my IT department, if I even have one, about the speed of my e-commerce site. But if you want to think of one simple thing you can do to remove speed bumps, it's that. Make your site faster. If you make it faster, they'll stick around longer. The next thing is, I told you we were going to talk about cart abandonment. 49% of cart abandonment is all about fees. Fees, taxes, unexpected charges. How many of you guys ship internationally or deal with international business? Any of you who do know that the single biggest reason for abandonment is people buying it or thinking they're buying it at one price, getting to the final checkout and seeing that price nearly double after all the taxes and fees and tariffs and everything else that gets piled on top of it, right? The idea here is don't create speed bumps you don't have to, right? Let them just see it all up front. So these are the things you need to think about. Rule number 1, just be transparent, right? They're going to have to pay the fee anyway. If they're going to abandon your cart, have them abandon up front, right? Don't get them all the way to the end, excited about your product, and then piss them off by all of a sudden adding, $35 shipping fees. Wait, no, there's no West Elm here. Okay, good. I don't want to offend anyone. West Elm is the worst at this. West Elm started doing this whole your product's too big. It's $135 more. I'm like, what the? How did that happen? Why didn't you tell me that? You said it was free shipping, and then, but not for your thing. Well, then for what things? Why is this a problem for you people? Just tell me what it is, and then I can make a rational decision if I want it or I don't want it, right? Don't do that. Don't. Just tell them what it is up front. You'll be better off. Flat rate shipping, right? People get that things cost money to move from point A to point B, right? Citizenry is the one on the right here. I keep bringing them up because I just love them to death. They did away with it. They're like, you know what? It's just free. If it's going to US, it's just free. Now, their chairs and their rugs and their pillows, oh my God, their pillows are expensive. But I have 8 of them. I don't know. I like them. And I don't mind that they're charging me $30 to ship or $30 more to pay for a pillow that I probably could have gotten cheaper because I got free shipping. And so it kind of psychologically, I'm like, oh, I guess it's a deal. It's free shipping, right? So I would highly encourage you as much as possible, bury that cost inside your cost of goods. Just put it in there because people are going to either pay it or not pay it anyway. And this way it doesn't feel like a gotcha. It's the gotcha that pisses people off. And that's the last one, test that all-in pricing. I have, for those of you who do ship globally or think globally, I have a number of my global merchants who talk to me about how they've started, because you know how the tariffs are different from country to country, and it's very confusing, and you don't always know, and depending on where it's coming from or where it's going, it could be totally different. They basically took just an average, and they said, forget it. We're gonna win some, we're gonna lose some, but everyone's gonna know what it is. It's going to be upfront, it's going to be transparent, it's going to be easy to understand. And they saw a 15% increase in conversion when they did that. Okay? And that's just one example. So I would highly, highly, highly encourage you, put it all in, be transparent, and for God's sake, no gotchas, no last minute anythings, okay? Just do it all at once. Okay, there's one more part of this, and then I'll shut up and you guys can ask me any questions you might have. There are, and this is highly scientific because there are 2 decimal points, 23.48 forms in the average checkout, right? So when someone's checking out, they have to fill out 23.48 things on average, right? First name and last name and address and email and phone number and blood type and social and first mother's maiden, whatever. It's why are you doing this to me? I'm just buying a bike. I am not applying for a mortgage. I am not trying to be in the CIA. What is going on? Why are you doing this to me? This is one of the top reasons why people bail is because you just simply made it too hard for them. And guess what? Someone else is going to make it way easy. Amazon doesn't ask me for anything. Amazon barely even asked me if I want something. If I briefly mention Alexa, she's ordered toilet paper. I don't know what's going on, right? But you're asking me for all this other stuff. Don't do it. So here's what I want you to do instead. Number 1, resist temptation, okay? I know your marketing guy, because I am a marketing guy. I know your marketing guy somewhere is oh, if I could only get permission to text message them. I'm cool, but let's sell the bike first, man. And then we'll get the text message later, okay? Don't ask for it all at once. Really be ruthless with yourself, with your IT team, with your marketing team, and say, what do I absolutely need? What is the minimum amount of information I need to complete this transaction? And then move on. Number 2, how many of you, and there's no judgment, well, maybe a little judgment, how many of you ask for account creation before the sale is completed? A couple of you? No? Oh, Some half raises? Okay. We won't call you out by name. Don't do that. Full stop. Don't do that. People they need a reason to create an account, all right? Account creation should be about value creation. I think we sometimes forget that. It's almost like you're asking them to marry you and you haven't even bought dinner on the first date, right? Like, give them a chance to like you. Maybe get them a chance to try out that bike before you start asking them to sign up for some amazing account where possibly there are future riches to be had. They don't care. They don't want to know. And it's off-putting, right? So try as best you can to avoid it. There are other ways. At the end of the transaction, you can ask to create an account. If they add to their cart, you can ask to create accounts in a different way, and I can tell you about that later. But don't do it during the checkout process. Once they're in the checkout process, let them finish. And the last one is no redirects, right? And this is something, speaking selfishly, that at Split we're super, super, super passionate about. Our Buy Now, Pay Later just adds 2 clicks into the checkout form. And we do that intentionally. We don't want to redirect you to go get approved, to go to some other site, to see whether you're worthy to get a loan from us. We put it right inside the checkout page because we don't want you to have to look at anything else, okay? Those sorts of redirects happen all the time. They happen for shipping options. They certainly happen for account creation. They definitely happen for other Buy Now, Pay Laters or for other financing options. As much as possible, avoid the redirects. Keep them where they are. Every redirect is a possible opportunity for someone else to steal them away before they've finished. You need to think of it like that. You don't want them getting distracted. I have a 1-year-old, right? Every 5 seconds I'm getting distracted by my 1-year-old doing something, right? Any redirect is just another 5 seconds for her to pull over the big plant that's gonna crush her, okay? Don't do any redirects. So I'm gonna pause there and give you just some final thoughts and then open up for questions wherever you want to go. I will say this, there is a unique opportunity right now to rethink the purpose of retail, okay? Consumers are eager for something different, right? They've experienced a year of different and they're more open-minded, right? I can't tell you the number, I wish I had the stat on hand, of 50 to 75-year-olds who all of a sudden are very comfortable ordering Starbucks through a mobile app. My mom would have never done that even a year ago, 6 months ago, certainly 5 years ago, right? Would have never even thought of it. But now everyone has been forced into this world where they've had to unlearn some of the habits that were so ingrained in them over the last 30 years. You have a unique opportunity to try something different, to take a risk, okay? And I would encourage you to think about what is it in the e-commerce space that you can steal, that you can take? What can you do with reviews? What can you do with influencers? What can you do with discounting? What can you do with financing? How can you take all these things that have just become so commonplace, shipping and free delivery, right? How can you take all of that and then implement it within a physical retail space? That's really the essence of that. And if you add that to then what we were talking about around product differentiation, of really illustrating why you, out of the millions and millions of choices, are the one they need. You keep that as your North Star, as your central focus of why you are special, why you're different. You put those two things together and you're able to bring that special difference to life within your retail space and then do it in a way that connects with their digital world. That's where you're going to unlock really amazing, unbelievable growth. So with that, I will open it up for questions. What can I do? How can I help you? Please.
So you had said that, asking for account creation when you're adding a cart, what does that look like?
Yeah, so the question was around, okay, I'd given this caveat about there is one way you can do account creation when you add to cart. So what we've seen over this past 3 years is that the add to cart feature has actually taken on a very different role in the e-commerce world than it had before. It used to be add to cart was essentially what you thought it was. It was literally, picture the retail space, I'm literally putting it in my cart because I'm going to walk out with it. Now add to cart has essentially been a saving feature. It's your ability to save your wish list. It's almost like your Pinterest board for shopping. It's your place where you put the things you want to go back to later. And so what I've seen in some of the ethnographic research that I've been conducting is you'll have people with 6, 7, 8, 10 tabs open of all the different competitors added to cart with all the different things they had. What you could do is you could get really smart about the time something has been sitting in the cart, and you could create a timer on your site, which essentially will create a pop-up to say, hey, this is in your cart. Would you like us to email it to you later so you can save it? Now notice I didn't say the annoying email that everyone sends, which is, hey, you forgot this. Hey, you left this behind. Like, no, they didn't leave it behind. They closed the friggin' tab. Like, what's wrong with you? They know where it is. They know who you are, right? But what you can say is, I'm going to make your life better. I'm going to make your life easier. And getting to the phygital experiences, you could actually say, hey, in this email, you could get smart enough to say, tell us your store, and we'll email that to the store, and we can have it waiting for you so you could try it on, so you could check it out, so you could take it for a test spin, right? That's what I mean when I say, now you're creating an account, but we didn't call it an account. What we did, an account feels like something that's got a burden. It's like, oh, I have 50 million passwords I got to remember, and I got to like keep up with this, and what if I lose my account, and what happens? An account is baggage, right? What we're talking about is a service by which you saw something online that piqued your interest, and I helped you save it, or perhaps helped you experience it before you had to commit to it. Does that help? You're very welcome. Oh, one in the back.
I'm just curious if you have any thoughts on like referral coupons and if any stats that you've seen on that. So the question is anything on referral coupons and if you've seen anything growth with the pandemic on that aspect of it.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So what I've seen is, and if you're talking referral coupons in terms of like I'm referring a friend, that sort of thing. Yeah, okay, great. Yes, it's that network effect that is tremendous, and especially when, which I think is where you're going, when the value sits with both the receiver and the giver, right? Tremendous, tremendous growth. We've been leveraging some of that in particular then to double up on the split it value proposition as an example. So we'll say something like, hey, give a referral, and then you can now get 20% off your next purchase and pay for this over 12 months. And so it becomes like a value on top of value on top of value. Yeah, I've seen, so I am trying to think of one in the sporting, so we did one with Canyon Bikes, if you know who Canyon is, and they saw, I think it was a 22, don't quote me on this, but I think it was a 22% lift over average, so over their average coupon. Because there's something about, to your point, what happens is you're not just doing a coupon to random intenders, you're doing a coupon with an implicit recommendation by someone in your network. So it's now Irma saying to me, hey Rob, I liked this bike, you're gonna like this bike too, and by the way, we both get a little something from it. Yeah. Yeah, of course, yeah, good question. What else could I help with, knowing that I'm standing between you and happy hour? Wonderful. It has been my absolute pleasure. Thank you all for showing up. Enjoy the show. We have a booth if you'd like to stop by and say hello to us, or I'll be sticking around if you have any other thoughts, but thank you all very much.